PS3
Alright, so get this. The last official PlayStation 3 game was released in 2022, marking 16 years after the console's first debut onto the market. Although you can still technically purchase games off the PSN store, well, as of the recording of this video at least, knock on wood, it doesn't give you that same type of feeling quite like chilling in your room on a random Friday night, where the only thing that mattered was playing LittleBigPlanet while you eat copious amounts of Little Caesars pizza with a side of Ruffles all-dressed chips, of course. But what if I told you that there still exists an underground, shady bootleg market that still is producing and openly selling illegal PlayStation 3 games? So in today's video, I'll be taking you on a journey through the wacky, goofy world of PS3 bootlegs, from playing this incredible port of Cuphead to exploring the scuffed version of Gears of War. This is exploring illegal PS3 games. So what exactly is a PlayStation 3 bootleg? Well, unlike the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 bootlegs come in all different shapes and sizes. You got your traditional run-of-the-mill bootleg. That's when someone rips a game onto their PC, burns it onto what I'm assuming is a Blu-ray disc, creates their own custom box art, and sells it for a fraction of the cost of an original PlayStation 3 game. A great example of a physical PlayStation 3 bootleg is a TikTok channel that I found called Ben Movie Quality Games. What's cool about Ben's store is how he prints and produces his very own PlayStation 3 bootlegs that come incredibly close to being one-to-one replicas of officially licensed PS3 games. From what I could tell, a lot of these bootlegs were sold with two discs, one being used as an install disc, while the other one is the actual game disc itself. His store also sells a ton of wacky PlayStation 4 bootlegs too, like he got this scuffed copy of the 12.0 Gold Hen exploit, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4, this cool homemade port of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that apparently works on the PlayStation 5 as well, and Ben is also selling a supposed port of Hellblade 2 for the PS4. If you guys are interested in a video where I cover goofy PS4 bootlegs like this, let me know in the comments down below. Then you have what's called the USB bootlegs. These are kinda cool. Instead of using a flimsy Blu-ray disc, the bootleggers would opt to use an off-the-shelf USB stick that is filled to the brim with games, emulators, DLCs, ROMs, all that sort of jazz. It's designed so that all you would have to do is simply plug the drive directly into your PlayStation 3 and play the games directly off the XMB, assume that your console is already running Hen or custom firmware, of course. Now, these type of bootlegs were commonly found in game shops and online marketplaces across South America as well as in Indonesia. From what I could find online, USB bootlegs were primarily used to distribute game mods and unofficial patches. For an example, in South America, you can come across game mods claiming to be FC25 for the PlayStation 3, whatever the this is supposed to be, and of course the infamous Bomba patch. In the case of Indonesia, many of the PlayStation 3 bootleggers there tend to put their modded game patches on either a USB stick or even sometimes on a DVD. What I love about these bootlegs is how they just don't give a shit in concealing the fact that it was more than likely ripped in some dude's basement. Like I found this one bootleg claiming to be Grand Theft Auto San Andreas Indonesia edition for the PlayStation 3. If you look into the customer reviews of the listing, you can clearly tell it's just some sketchy DVD with GTA SA mod written on it with a Sharpie pen. It's just so nutty, man, I love it. Anyways, while doing research for this video, I managed to stumble across this weird Tetris bootleg that's supposedly for the PlayStation 3. I say supposedly since the bootleg doesn't work if you put the disc into a PS3. It turns out that you have to put the DVD into a PC, which loads software that creates a web server. The idea is they can connect to the web server using your PlayStation 3's internet browser and play what I'm going to assume is a flash version of Tetris. It's kinda hard to tell. From what I could find online, these bootlegs originated in Germany and weren't sold anywhere else in the world. Fun fact, at one point in time, you could purchase these games directly from the Amazon Germany marketplace. Personally, I wouldn't want to go for the effort of having to set up both my PC and my PlayStation 3 just to play Tetris, but I guess it's kinda cool. Anyways, since we already know what a PlayStation 3 bootleg looks like now, the next question is, what are they like to play? I'll start this journey off strong with one game that I found called Gears of Kombat. So the backstory behind this game is really cool. It was created by this dude named Nadel Najim. He's a Brazilian Palestinian indie game developer who creates games for the PlayStation 3, PC, and even the Xbox 360. He's better known for this project called First in Alaska, the Knights of the Alaska Mosque, which Nadel describes as the Palestinian Max Payne. Allahu Akbar! Back on topic, Gears of Combat was released around the tail end of 2019. Nidell describes the game as taking influence from both Gears of War and Mortal Kombat, with a side of Unreal Tournament 3 and a sprinkle of Max Payne thrown in for good measure. Nidell also built the game to show off the power of the UDK Ultimate Engine, which is apparently an enhanced version of the Unreal Engine 3. Pretty cool if you ask me. So why not? Let's go check out Gears of Combat, featuring Hollywood superstar Johnny Asshole Cage. Oh my lord. Alright, so when you first boot into the game, it greets you with this goofy ass intro.
Fatality. Johnny Cage wins.
So the best way that I can describe Gears of Combat is that it's basically an Unreal Tournament 3 mod of Gears of War, with some Mortal Kombat references thrown in for good measure. For an example, instead of playing as Marcus Phoenix, you now play as Brazilian Johnny Cage. A lot of the weapons in the game have now been replaced with guns from Gears of War. You got the Lancer, the Longshot, and of course, the pistol.
First blood.
And before you ask, no, the chainsaw on the Lancer doesn't work. Why that's the case, your guess is good as mine. In terms of things to do in Gears of Combat, you have 4 different game modes to choose from. There's UDK Deathmatch, CTF, Deathmatch, and of course, Team Deathmatch. UDK Deathmatch is essentially Deathmatch, but from a third-person perspective. This game mode is also split into 2 different objectives that you have to complete. The first objective requires you to kill what feels like an endless amount of locusts, while the song Tijuana by Troop Elite blasts in the background. The second objective, on the other hand, is pretty cool. Out of nowhere, this ship appears on screen where you have to jump into an Apache helicopter and end up getting into a heated dogfight with it. Once the dust is settled, the game calls you a f***ing asshole, and that's about it. Game over. The combat in Gears of Combat is what I describe as straightforward, easy to pick up and play, with no real rhyme or reason to it. If you go into this game hoping for some technicality or depth to your gameplay, then you're going to be sadly disappointed here. That's not to say I didn't have fun shooting the shit in Gears of Combat, don't get me wrong. I just felt like I could have used some additional polish, especially on the level design. If you want my unsolicited 2 cents, it would have been awesome to see more of a Mortal Kombat influence here, as outside of the goofy character models and the Mortal Kombat logo in the background, the game doesn't really take advantage of the franchise, which I feel like is a missed opportunity. Something as simple as giving the player the ability to punch, kick, or even pull off a fatality would have complemented the experience and added some much needed variety to the gameplay, at least in my opinion. With all that being said, I do respect the fact that the game gives you a handful of cheats to mess around with. My personal favorite had to be the one that slows down time whenever you kill someone, kind of like how bullet time works. Anyways, Gears of Combat is just alright. Once a novelty wears thin, the whole experience ends up feeling more like a vertical slice than an actual playable game. If you crave a mindless shooter that's fun to play and offers a good amount of challenge to it, then I would recommend checking it out if you ever get the chance. Alright fellas, so the next game on the list just might be one of the best bootlegs that I've ever covered so far in this series. This is what's called TenkaiCabra 3. TenkaiCabra 3 is a bootleg of DBZ Budokai Tenkaichi 3 that was ported over to the PlayStation 3. This mod was created by fellow content creator Xavier DBZ. Now, Xavier is part of the ever-growing DBZ modding community that exists primarily in both Mexico and South America. These guys, hands down, are some of the most talented people within the PlayStation 2 community, and have produced well over 30 plus custom versions of Budokai Tenkaichi 3 as of the recording of this video. Fun fact, Xavier is also known for creating this goofy DBZ mod called Wafuverse V2. He's definitely a man of culture. Back on topic, TenkaiCabra 3 is a lot like that DBZ crossover bootleg that I covered in my previous illegal PS2 games video, but this one is 5 times more wackier. Also, big shout out to my homie Solaris for recommending this game for the video. It is greatly appreciated. Alright, so TenkaiCabra 3 is best described as a fever dream. It's a mod that infuses everything from politics, pop culture, comics, movies, football, and internet memes into Budokai Tenkaichi. Trust me when I say this is hands down one of the most batshit crazy games I've played in a very long time.
From Olympus.
Let's start by diving straight into the meat and potatoes of this mod first with the characters. Now, there is an incredible amount of custom characters that you can play as in TenkaiCabra 3. You got classics like being able to play as Michael Jackson,
I am okay. You've been hit back. You've been struck back.
Tony Montana,
Hey, Sosa! You thought you could take me? No! No, take Tony Montana down for me!
Lionel Messi,
Mira, bobo. Anda para allá, bobo.
Neymar Jr.,
Esto quiere decir que es mi turno para pelear.
that Guy Fawkes Anonymous dude,
Tengo más poder del que uso. Puede que luche un poco agresivo.
Ricardo Milos,
Yo soy un amante de la belleza.
the Minions, a bag of Doritos,
Te voy a comer!
Roman Reigns,
The entire universe. Acknowledge.
CJ from San Andreas,
Oh shit, here we go again.
Godzilla, Spanish John Wick,
Peleemos cuanto antes.
El Hechicero,
Deberías sentirte halagado, no cualquiera tiene el privilegio de morir por mi mano.
Bro Goose, Billie Eilish,
¿Pero qué te pasa, gusano? ¿Acaso te da miedo?
and that 420 blazed alien fella. Fun fact, the dudes featured on the box art of this bootleg are both former and current Brazilian presidents. What's weird is that despite Jair Bolsonaro appearing on the front cover, I couldn't find him as a playable character in the game. Instead, you can only play as either Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the current Brazilian president, or as the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro.
Este será tu fin!
What's also cool about this mod is how a lot of these new characters aren't just a simple texture model swap, as Xavier has gone for the effort of giving each one their very own unique special attacks. One of my favorites has to be this one called the Gang Brothers Combination.
Y ahora yo te daré un gran obsequio. I hate gravity! Shit! Damn!
The Thriller, as well as this goofy ass Tony Montana attack called the King of Miami.
Look at you now!
What I love about this mod is just how much effort went into the small details here. A great example of this is how Xavier has added his own custom soundtrack to the game. You got everything from the DB version Kumbaya, this dope Sonic remix, the Tekken 5 soundtrack, both Io Sky and Roman Reigns' entrance theme, and Smash Mouth.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me.
The modders even went as far as replacing and reanimating a lot of the character idle stances. For an example, King Jun now does the Opa Gundam style, CJ will just pass out over and over again,
Por favor, no me hagan reír. What the fuck happened?
Billy does his dab dance, I think. I wouldn't know, I'm not 13 years old. And Ricardo does, well, the Ricardo. Now, if I had to suggest some characters to include in this mod, it would be amazing to see Riddick from the Chronicles of Riddick, Eminem from the Slim Shady era.
Yo, where's my snare?
And while you're at it, why not include Master Chief from Halo 2 just for fun?
I need a weapon.
That would be sick. TenkaiCabra 3 is also filled with a ton of custom arena maps not found in the base game. You can now fight at spots like Peach's Castle from Super Mario 64, Grove Street Court from San Andreas, this scuff recreation of 742 Evergreen Terrace. You got this cool WWE stadium, there's also this sick Digimon Tokyo map, and of course the Qatar Stadium circa 2022 FIFA World Cup. If I had a bone to pick here, I found that the custom maps do cause the game's performance to take a massive dump. Now, it's not fair to blame the modders for this one since it could be due to the emulation and not the game itself, but it does get to the point where some people might find it to be completely unplayable. Personally, I got a soft spot for janky shit like this, so it didn't ruin my experience, but your mileage may vary. But here's the thing, if you can manage to look past all that malarkey, there really is nothing else that I can think of off the dome that comes close to capturing just how perfectly insane this game is. TenkaiCabra 3 is an original, creative, high-effort mod that brings new life into an already incredible game. If you can manage to find this gem out in the wild, it is well worth checking out without a shadow of a doubt. Also, special shout out to both Xavier and fellow DBZ modders who assisted on this project, such as Fabio Lopez, JSN Mods, Hunter, Andre21, Danny AD, and Expert. You guys do incredible work and deserve the utmost respect. I'll leave a link to all their channels in the description down below. Next up, we have a few Saudi Arabian PlayStation bootlegs that I found online. Now, many of these are PlayStation 2 bootlegs that are ported over to the PlayStation 3. What's cool about these PS2 bootlegs is they can play all of them without needing a backwards compatible PS3. Anyways, I'll start first with this Hitman Blood Money bootleg that I found. So when you first boot up Blood Money, it greets you with this trailer from the Hitman movie, ripped straight from IGN's website. When you translate the text on screen to English, it reads Hitman dubbed in Arabic. What's interesting about this bootleg is how it claims to be an Arabic dub, yet the whole game is still in English.
What the fuck you looking at, cracker?
I'm here to see Joseph Clarence.
They didn't even bother to add subtitles in Arabic or anything like that. Another weird detail that I noticed is how a lot of the cutscenes are now mute. I don't know if this is due to the PS2 emulator or if the bootleggers managed to break the in-game audio. All that I know is that the game is now a lot more awkward.
What the fuck they call you?
Then you have the PlayStation 2 dubs that sounds like if the bootleggers recorded all the voiceovers using an Xbox 360 headset. Like I found this one bootleg for Spider-Man 3. I'll give credit where credit is due, the bootleggers at least attempted to do a proper dub here.
كيفن؟ كيف عندك؟ أنت تقتل الناس، علينا أن نجد قائدنا، قد نعيدهم مرة أخرى.
I gotta say, the dude voicing Spider-Man kinda sounds like Strong Bad from Homestar Runner.
أنا لا أميل إلى كريفن، ولكن تحويله إلى زحلية يبدو أمرا خاطئا.
Speaking of dubs, check out this goofy God of War 2 bootleg.
لكن كريتوس لم يكن بحاجة لحب الآلهة. لقد وجد عائلة جديدة لمحاربي إسبارتا.
أثينا، هل تقفين ضدي؟
I honestly couldn't tell if they're using a child as a voice actor here or not. It's kinda strange.
كلما عدت وقتلت، كلما زادت قوة الأوليمبوس. قريبا لن أكون قادرة على حمايتك.
أنا لست بحاجة لحماية أحد.
I also came across this Middle Eastern 50-cent bulletproof bootleg. So this one was kinda half-baked if you ask me. Since the only thing they managed to dub here was the voices of 50s ops. Now, since I don't speak Arabic, I can't tell if this is a good dub or not. But at least in my eyes, it sounded like it was recorded by someone who knew what they were doing. I don't know. Next up, we have a supposed port of the new Super Mario Bros. DS. Now, this bootleg caught my eye since there isn't any sort of way to play DS games on a PlayStation 3. Well, at least to my knowledge. It turns out that this is a ROM hack for Super Mario World called the New Retro Brothers. And to my surprise, it's really not all that bad. So the New Retro Brothers sets out to be an SNES equivalent of its younger DS counterpart by rehauling the game's graphics, changing the map layout from Super Mario World, while adding new music and sound effects into the mix. Fundamentally, the game remains the same and plays just like Super Mario World, which is a good thing if you ask me. I respect the amount of effort that was poured into this mod, as it's clear that someone at least gave a shit here. I can see how the new art style might not be everyone's cup of tea, but when you factor in the hardware limitations of the Super Nintendo, it's honestly impressive, all things considered. Although it's pretty greasy to call this the new Super Mario Bros., I will give the bootleggers credit for at least attempting to mimic the original game. The same can't be said about Cyberpunk 2077 Legacy Edition. So I found this bootleg in a YouTube comment thread, claiming to be an unofficial port of the game for the PlayStation 3. For some stupid ass reason, I decided to download it out of pure curiosity. By the way, I would never recommend doing this unless you want to play Russian roulette with your PC's hard drive. Anyways, I transferred the file over to my PlayStation 3 and when you know it, it's actually legit. Well, sorta. It turns out that it's just a Grand Theft Auto Vice City mod. From what I could tell, the modders replaced Tommy with Johnny Silverhand, added in the Porsche 911 from Cyberpunk, changed the loading splash screens, and redesigned the in-game pause menu, as well as completely revamping the game's HUD to make it look much more modern. Outside of that, this is practically the same Vice City experience that you all know and love. If I could give some feedback, it would have been cool if the modders had included Johnny Silverhand's pistol as a weapon in the game, added more of a Night City influence and aesthetic into Vice City, or even go as far as giving the player the ability to use augmentations. Although it doesn't seem like they'd be significant to the gameplay, just even the small stuff like that would have helped sell the whole Cyberpunk aesthetic, as outside of being able to play as Johnny Silverhand in the Porsche, there's really nothing here that shouts 2077. Like, don't get me wrong, it is pretty goofy. I'll murder you. But it's just okay. If I had to rate this on a tier list, this is a solid C when it comes to Grand Theft Auto bootlegs. Alright, so next up, we got something that's really dope. This is what's called Demon's Souls Demastered. Demon's Souls Demastered is this unique mod that painstakingly replaces all of Demon's Souls graphics to make it resemble as if it's running on a PlayStation 1. The mod was created by this dude named the Great Graham Cracker over at Nexus Mods. Now, Graham Cracker's claims that practically every single graphic in the game has been manually worked on or put through his homemade pixelation procedure, with the end goal of making Demon's Souls resemble earlier FromSoft games, such as Shadow Tower and Knight's Field. Fun fact, this mod also works online if you use the Demon's Souls private server called the Archstones, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Alright, so the best way that I can describe this mod is that it feels like if you threw both Demon's Souls and RuneScape into a blender. Now, this mod utilizes this thing called the PSX Dether filter, if I'm saying that right. This is a built-in filter that Graham created that reduces the colors of an image and replaces them with dots. If you've ever taken a photo with a Game Boy camera before, it kind of looks like that. What I like about this mod is that despite the graphics being drastically reduced, it still manages to retain that Demon's Souls aesthetic, as nothing here feels overcooked or half-baked. You can tell that Graham brought the beans to the table by skillfully demastering this game to achieve that perfect balance of adding something new to the experience without removing the soul that makes Demon's Souls, well, Demon's Souls, which is no small feat if you ask me. You can really see just how drastically different this game looks in the cutscenes. Fun fact, the Maiden in Black is now in a low poly format and matches the size of a PlayStation 1 player model. What I love about this project is that it's not just the graphics that receive the PS1 treatment, as all the in-game menus have now been deep fried to PSX perfection. You wanna know something pretty cool? All the loading screens in the game have now been replaced by artwork that Graham commissioned specifically for this mod. You got the Old King Dorian by CCC Retina, the Maiden in Black created by Graham himself, Ostrivia of Boltaria by Pixel_Hog, and Sage Freak by Melee W. Another cool detail is how Graham ported over the font used in Shadow Tower into Demon's Souls. It definitely helps sell the whole PlayStation 1 aesthetic, and it's pretty sick. What else can I say? Now, one of the questions I had going into this mod was if it would improve the performance of Demon's Souls, as this is one of the biggest complaints that a lot of people had with the original game. From what I could tell, the frame rate doesn't seem to be all that different from the base game. Mind you, I couldn't manage to get past the Voltarian Palace. Balls, god damn it! So there still is a slight chance that I could run better or even worse later on in the game. One would think that since the graphics have been reduced, it would mean that you get better performance here, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. Anyways, Demon's Soul Demastered is a really impressive mod that any fan of the series would enjoy. You can clearly tell that Gran poured in a ton of love and passion into this mod, making an already painful, what the fuck, yet enjoyable experience even that much better. Speaking of Gran, he also has a project that he released called Pixel Souls Demastered, which is a low poly conversion of Dark Souls Remastered. If you guys are interested, I'll leave a link to both mods in the description down below. Next up on the list, we have what's called Fallout 3 Elite Edition. Now, Fallout 3 Elite Edition was this obscure mod pack released sometime in 2015. It includes over 100 mods from the PC version of Fallout 3 that have been converted to the PlayStation 3. The main goal with Fallout 3 Elite Edition was to make the wasteland more immersive while adding a heavier degree of realism to the gameplay. The mod pack was created by this group called Elite Electronics, who were better known back in the day for releasing various game mods for the PS3, with Fallout 3 Elite Edition, say that 3 times fast, being one of their more popular releases. Now, if you've never played Fallout 3 before, there is a good chance that you won't pick up on a lot of the changes here since most of them are quite subtle. From what I could find online, it's impossible to port over weapons or custom texture models into the PlayStation 3 version, which kinda blows chunks if you ask me. But you wanna know the best thing about the Elite Edition? It almost makes it feel like you're experiencing Fallout 3 for the very first time again. Let me explain. Alright, so when you first pop out of your mom's pie hole and have to create your own character, you can tell that the game is slightly different. The game now lets you play as a Hispanic child, and no replacement for displacement, god damn it, type of fella, or you can simply say f all that and choose to play as a ghoul if that's more of your thing. You now have access to this handy mod menu inside your Pip-Boy that can give you stuff like unlimited bottle caps, stem packs, an alien blaster,
Anda, amiguito.
Oye, oye, cuidado.
and the good old experimental MIRV. But it's not until you venture outside of Vault 101 when the mod truly becomes a lot more noticeable. For an example, walking around the wasteland, you can see that the modders added a lot more trees and greenery that weren't originally there in the base game. I've always found that Fallout 3's art style suffered from that classic gray piss filter. It wasn't just Fallout 3 that did this, since almost every game released around 2008 adopted this quote-unquote art style. In the Elite Edition, I don't really see that anymore. DC now looks more green. I really don't know how else to describe it. It's kind of wild that something as simple as adding more trees and grass to the game's environment can make such a significant difference here. This mod also includes new NPCs that roam the wasteland. You've got what's called the Giant, this tiny version of the Yowl guy called the Burr, these killer clown kids, and the mini bloatfly. A lot of Fallout 3's game mechanics have also been altered to a certain degree. One of the biggest things that stood out to me the most was how stem packs now work. You see, in the base game, you can always spam these suckers whenever you're low on health or injured. This has a side effect of removing tension in combat since it's not nearly as challenging, as you can just heal yourself on the fly. In the Elite Edition, stem packs now take around 5 seconds to activate, forcing you to slow down and putting you in a much more vulnerable state. On top of that, you can also become addicted to stem packs, which can mess up your vision and intelligence level. Personally, I wish Bethesda had opted to do this in the original game, as it strips away the whole run and gun nature of Fallout 3 and requires you to think before you go guns blazing. While we're on the topic of substances, all the drugs in the game have been renamed to resemble their real-life counterparts. What's cool about this mechanic is how each substance affects the player differently. For an example, one of the mods included in the Elite Edition is called Real Drunkenness, and I'll let the footage speak for itself. So if you've ever wanted to visit the K-hole and get into a fist fight with some wild Brahmin, well, now you can. Another cool aspect of this mod pack is how the modders have included new locations for you to fully explore. Like there's this new spot called Vault 101 Beta that lets you return to Vault 101 in its former glory. You can also become the overseer of the Vault too, which is pretty dope if you ask me. You got this one goofy joint called Hillbilly Cave where you have to traverse through this creepy cave filled with crazy hillbillies trying to kill you. And finally, there's also a mod that removes the out-of-bounds barrier, making the area now fully explorable. The first thing that came to my mind here was that it looks so much like Starfield, it's not even funny. I wonder if the developers had plans to make this area part of the map at one point and simply ran out of time to properly implement it. Like, I'm no game developer or anything like that, but a lot of the environmental geometry looks to be well thought out and laid out. So maybe that was the case at one point, or it simply could have been just too much for the PlayStation 3 to handle. Who really knows? My only real complaint with the Elite Edition is that it makes an already unstable port even more unstable. Like, the frame rate in Fallout 3 has always been kinda busted, and loading over 100 mods definitely doesn't help matters here. But to be honest with you, man, that's part of the Bethesda charm. And as the old saying goes, all of this just works. Anyways, if you want my 2 cents, Fallout 3 Elite Edition is a ton of fun. A real hoot and holler, as they say. It achieves its goal of making an already incredible game even better, and is a perfect excuse to revisit Fallout 3 for the 100th time. If you can manage to look past its bumps and bruises, this is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best PS3 game mods that you can play. I strongly recommend checking it out if you ever get the chance. Next up, we have Cuphead for the PlayStation 3. Alright, so get this. While doing research for this video, I came across this port on the PSX Palace forum about a month ago, created by this dude named Kyo Sensei. According to Kyo, this is a homebrew port of Cuphead that is still in development as of the recording of this video. Now, he doesn't specify in this post if this is built off a decompiled version of Cuphead, or if it's a modified version of Cuphead Portable, a popular Cuphead port built for the PSP. I'm gonna roll a dice here and assume that this was built using Cuphead Portable source code, but who really knows? Anyways, with all that being said, let's go explore Cuphead. Now, since Cuphead is still in the early days of development, this means that there isn't a lot of stuff that I can talk about here. From what I could play, there's around 3 unique boss battles to choose from, with only one being considered as playable. Now, I use the term playable loosely here, as the boss fight basically amounts to you shooting your finger over and over again. But hey, at least it works. There's also a few other levels that you can access in this build as well too. The best way I can describe them is that they're a work in progress. What I love about this project is that it shows a different side of game development that we don't normally get to see. It makes you appreciate just how much effort and time goes into creating stuff like this. This demo, this vertical slice of the game is so early on, but you can kind of see all the moving pieces, you know? It makes you appreciate the background a lot more. It makes you appreciate just how well animated the game is. All the small minute details that you wouldn't notice in like the full game, you can see them all on display here, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's just really impressive, man. There's no other way I can describe it, honestly. In terms of performance, this game runs as smooth as butter, holding a consistent 60 FPS with no real noticeable frame drops. I feel like Cuphead is a 2D equivalent to something like the original Doom, as it seems like this game could run on everything from a Sega Dreamcast to a TI-85 calculator. Also, it's worth mentioning that this game looks absolutely stunning on the PlayStation 3. I mean, just look at it. But yeah, what else can I say? Cuphead is shaping up to be one of the best unofficial ports on the PlayStation 3. I wish the team the best of luck, and I'm looking forward to playing the full release sometime in the near future. Now, before I end this video off, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the following YouTube members for their continued support. The following members are Benjamin Moraga, Bob Babam, Strategic Games, Blake Love, Dylan Cameron, RIP, Dude Prinny, Spinexy_guy, Hellcat, Chase, PC Master Game Race, Carlos the Bird 69,
I broke my controller,
NA, WEV, LittleQ_400, Baruto Yuzumaki, am I saying that right? Abstract NX Gen, Captain Kurt, Jordan Horst, Pyra, Adam, Purdy, Twin 10 brother, OG Newbie, Wade Retro Revive, Sir Silent, Ethan Phillips, Chrissy TM, Za, Nick Pixelato, Time Tunnel 4956, TJ's Techniche, Canadian Jelly, and Fruzilla. Thank you guys so much, it is greatly appreciated. And that was exploring illegal PlayStation 3 games. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Currently, I'm working on a few projects right now, like the most active PS2 2025 edition, and a few other creative endeavors. I can't wait to show you guys more on that in the near future. But if you enjoy this style of content, please consider leaving a like or even a subscription. It is greatly appreciated. But until next time, fellas, peace.
The landing wheels aren't retracting!
Yeah? And the number 2 nozzle won't work either.
What? Are you for real? We can't land without them. I knew I should.
Whatever happens,
I'm only 18.
happens.
I don't want to die.